Science, biatch.
My dad said?
Don't strain your eyes, boss.
An uncomfortable kiss, cursing out co-stars, naked animal crackers. Oh, and Chris Pratt. Some of the best moments on scripted television shows are the ones that aren't scripted at all. And funnily enough, these moments have also led to huge ratings and even Emmy Awards. So join us as we reveal how TV stars from The Office, Breaking Bad, and Riverdale went totally off script, including a Game of Thrones moment that went viral for far better reasons than an errant Starbucks cup. At first glance, you may think that a show like Parks and Recreation would be heavily improvised, given the nature of the program and the actors involved, but as it turns out, the show is actually a very tightly scripted show, with a lot of the heavy lifting being done by the writers beforehand.
Your cause is just, there's nothing...
Ow, my arm!
That doesn't mean there is some wiggle room for the actors, however. This allowed Chris Pratt to give arguably one of the funniest moments in the entire series, or so thinks Mike Schur. This bit can be found in the episode Flu Season in the show's 3rd season. The line comes when Leslie has the flu, and Andy, filling in at Ron's desk, states,
Leslie, I typed your symptoms into the thing up here and it says you could have network connectivity problems.
Mike Schur was actually legitimately angry over the line. Not because it was bad, but because he was upset he didn't come up with such a funny line as the writer and creator of the entire show. Usually, when it comes to improvised moments, we think of amazing lines that surpassed what was originally written in the script.
My wife used to fart when she was nervous.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here! Here's Johnny!
While there was an improvised moment in Supernatural, it may not have quite the same finesse as some other improvised lines out there. During the episode Bad Day at Black Rock, which was in the 3rd season, Dean is given some information that causes him to react. Instead of sticking to the script, actor Jensen Ackles unexpectedly yells,
Son of a bitch!
right in his co-star's face, Jared Padalecki. The line and delivery was so unexpected that Jared actually turns away from the camera as he's about to burst into laughter, something you can see on his face before he turns away. Sometimes an improvised moment comes on the fly. The scriptwriters and director intentionally withhold information from the cast in order to get a more dynamic and raw performance from the role. Such an instance happened in the show How I Met Your Mother, specifically the episode Bad News, which was the 13th episode of the 6th season. In it, actor Jason Segel was completely unaware of the twist ending of the episode, which revealed that Marshall's dad has passed away.
Your father, he had a heart attack. He didn't make it.
Without any time to prepare for this moment, Segel had to essentially react as if Marshall would react on the fly. This was also the first time the show got seriously sad.
I'm not ready for this.
There are improvised scenes that were a simple addition to the scene and a quick burst of creativity on the part of the actors. Then there's what KJ Apa did on the final episode of the 1st season of Riverdale. The scene in question involved Archie trying to save Cheryl from being trapped under the frozen lake. Archie rushes towards the ice and begins to punch it in order to break the ice and save her. Thankfully, the ice was actually a foam mat placed over the real ice designed to protect Appa from any injuries. But it looked like the star of Riverdale got a bit too into the scene. As it turns out, he was so focused on trying to save Cheryl that his punches were landing a bit too hard on the mat, and he actually found out 20 minutes after filming that scene that he had broken his hand by punching the mat. Not only did he break his hand while landing those punches, he didn't tell anybody about the injury either. Guess he really wanted to finish the scenes for the day. Walking Dead may not be the powerhouse show it was when it first came out all those years ago, but that doesn't mean the show is without its qualities or high points. In fact, the 5th season of the controversial zombie series from AMC has a pretty great improvised moment that you likely didn't even realize was off script. The episode in question is called Remember, and in case you can't remember which one that is, it involves Rick and the gang entering into the Alexandria safe zone and ultimately settling into that area. While everyone seems to be happy for a place to rest and be safe, Daryl is rather suspicious of the whole setup and is very against a new wardrobe. Carol, however, isn't above such a makeover and gets some new clothing, specifically a new cardigan and some slacks. The outfit causes Daryl to state that she looks ridiculous.
You look ridiculous.
A line that actor Norman Reedus made up on the spot for the scene. In an interview, Reedus explains that he enjoys messing with Carol and that off-camera, actor Melissa McBride actually yelled back a thank you to her walking co-star. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one of the seminal shows of the 90s. Part of that was due to the involvement of Joss Whedon, who definitely added his unique wit and banter between the principal cast to make the show that much more memorable. But despite Joss's involvement, one of the best little moments in the series was actually not written by Joss. In fact, it wasn't written at all. The scene in question features Seth Green and Allison Hannigan's discussion over animal crackers during the Season 4 episode, What's My Line, Part 2. The scene in question is actually a monologue concerning the unusual curiosity about how the monkey-shaped animal crackers are the only ones that are wearing clothing. Willow is trying to thank Oz for saving her life, and Oz seems to be a little distracted by both the crackers and the fact that the monkeys have clothes, and keeping pace with Willow's conversation and gratitude, stating he doesn't do thank yous as they make him flustered. After the line, "You have the sweetest smile I've ever seen," all of the animal cracker and clothing related dialogue is entirely ad-libbed by Seth Green.
And you know the monkeys just, I mock you with my monkey pants. And then there's a big coup in the zoo.
How are your deduction skills? Were you able to deduce what the improvised moment in BBC's Sherlock series was? Unless you're a diehard fan of the series, chances are you missed that clue, but thankfully, we followed the clues and have presented the evidence just for you. This improvised scene takes place during the wedding episode of the 3rd season, where Watson ties the knot with Mary. Before the wedding actually happens, though, Holmes and Watson are out on the town for the stag. This resulted in 2 buzzed detectives trying to look sober while working the case. What followed was Benedict Cumberbatch uttering the line,
"Poisonous about my..."
Writer Stephen Moffat admitted that Cumberbatch forgot his line and uttered the word thing on the fly, something that worked perfectly for the context of the scene.
Got it.
Sometimes, the crew of a show or movie know that an actor working on their production is an ace at improvising, and that they were often hired with that in mind. This is exactly the case for Neil Flynn when he was working on the TV show Scrubs.
I think I saw a manatee.
Was his name Julian?
We didn't exchange pleasantries.
That's Julian.
Flynn, of course, played the bizarre and humorous janitor on the show, and if you've ever watched it, you'll recall that he said some pretty unusual things from time to time.
Happy Halloween.
Quite often, he'd improvise his lines while working on set, especially for scenes with Zach Braff.
What?
I make more than you do.
What?
I saw your paycheck and I've been dying to tell you, I make more than you do. Quite a bit more.
The writers liked his work so much that on 2 occasions, Flynn's script actually said whatever Neil says, as opposed to any written dialogue. So Flynn really had to step into a certain frame of mind as the show and writers were expecting him to improvise.
Whoever this is, you are not going to believe what just happened to me.
I believe it. It was cool.
Sometimes the best thing to do on set is to simply let the actors create an entire scenario. It's a bold move, as the gamble can completely backfire, but such was not the case for the hit show Orphan Black. Remember the scene where Allison and Donnie are burying a body underneath some concrete in a garage? Yeah, that was largely improvised.
I'm not as perfectly comfortable with manslaughter as you.
At least I had the good sense to leave mine where she dropped.
Christian Brunn gave the breakdown of what went down at Nerd HQ 2014, where he stated that the script had a rough outline of what was happening, but that director TJ Scott decided to take it one step further. He placed cameras around the set and let it run, telling him and Tatiana Maslany to get it wrapped when it came to burying the body. That means that the little heart etched into the concrete was made up on the spot. A pretty awesome addition if you ask us.
I've always wanted to do that. What?
Breaking Bad is considered by many fans and critics to be one of the greatest shows ever made, and will likely be remembered as the show of the decade.
Say my name. Heisenberg. You're goddamn right.
The last few episodes were pretty spectacular, including the universally beloved episode, Ozymandias. But we're going to put the spotlight on the episode right after that episode, which just so happens to be the penultimate episode of the entire series. In it, Walter White asks the disappearer to stay in the cabin he's been hiding out in for an hour in exchange for $10,000. Easy money for him, so he takes the job and plays cards with Walter, resulting in the improvised line,
A king. 2 kings.
The scene was actually supposed to end after the deck got cut, but director Peter Gould admits to being too lazy to cut the scene, so the actors kept going with their cards until Robert Foster dealt the hand and ultimately, the line. Breaking Bad's influence on pop culture cannot be understated, however.
Yeah, this is gonna help big time with that, bitch!
And even Marvel found a way to pay homage to the show during the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Not only that, but the tribute came on the spot as it was entirely off script. The tribute/improvised moment came during the finale of the second season. In the scene, Ian DeCasteker, who plays Fritz, was going toe-to-toe with Gordon, an Inhuman with the power to teleport while also sporting no eyelids or eyes, resulting in a pretty creepy look. In order to beat Gordon, they needed to trap him, something which they succeed in doing. Confused, Gordon asks, "What did you do?" as him being unable to teleport should be impossible for him. Fitz replies in the best way possible with Jesse Pinkman's trademark line from Breaking Bad,
Science, biatch.
Co-star Clark Gregg, who plays Agent Coulson, would go on to tweet that it was the greatest ad-libbed moment in television. If you can improvise a line on the spot, that's a pretty great talent.
Where do I put my cone?
Oh, hey, Marshmallow.
But it's another thing altogether to improvise an entire song. That's exactly what happened on Bob's Burgers, a show that already features some pretty out there and random songs.
You can't see it, it's electric!
Woogie, woogie, woogie.
But the Thanksgiving song, which was featured in the episode An Indecent Thanksgiving Proposal in the third season, was entirely made up by John Roberts.
Thank you for loving me.
Glenn.
Thank you for being there.
Please.
Whether you loved or hated the final season of Game of Thrones, there's no doubt that the show has delivered tons of iconic and memorable moments over the years since it first launched. The show was a dark and gritty fantasy series with tons of political intrigue and backstabbing, but despite its tone and very mature content, the show was deceptively funny.
I see the way she looks at me. How does she look at you? Like she wants to carve you up and into your liver? You do know her.
And one of its funniest moments was actually improvised. One of the more humorous recurring bits in season 6 and 7 of Game of Thrones was Tormund Giantsbane's obsession with the big woman, Brienne of Tarth.
You're a lucky man.
Tormund is smitten from the moment he sees her.
Yellow hair, blue eyes, tallest woman you've ever seen.
Before leaving Castle Black with Jon Snow and others, Tormund gives Brienne the look. This hysterical, lustful, deranged look. Actor Christopher Hiju improvised the grin on the spot, which forced Brienne of Tarth actress Gwendoline Christie to look away in morbid disgust.
The big woman still here?
When one is improvising, they usually believe it to be for the greater good of the scene, that they are adding something that wasn't there otherwise, that elevated the scene to new heights, or to do something they believe the character would have done more organically. Then there's what Mark Harmon did on the shoot for NCIS. If you've watched the show, you'll know that Harmon's character Gibbs has his trademark head slaps, usually given to his subordinate Tony DiNozzo.
Police work there. It's no fun if you know what's coming.
Maybe being a cop isn't for me.
There was totally a patented Gibbs head slap right there.
The action has become something of a running gag on the show, but it didn't start that way. Not only was the first slap improvised, but the reason for the slap is actually pretty surprising. Harmon was working with DiNozzo actor Michael Weatherly and was getting pretty tired and irritated with his performance on set that he instinctively gave him a good thunk on the back of the head just to vent some frustration.
Don't strain your eyes, boss.
That's no coincidence.
The moment was so perfectly timed that, unfortunately for Tony, it became a part of the show.
Don't make a habit of that.
Sometimes surprise kisses are just unwanted and really uncomfortable, and that looked to be the case on the American version of The Office. Many improvised moments come from great lines, and The Office is full of them.
Don't ever, for any reason, do anything to anyone, for any reason, ever.
But perhaps one of the funniest moments in the entire show was this action. The moment in question came from the season 3 premiere, Gay Witch Hunt, which sees Michael Scott trying to prove to his fellow employee Oscar Martinez and the rest of the crew that he isn't homophobic.
I don't care if you are gay or straight or a lesbian or overweight. Just get in here.
Oscar just so happens to be gay and isn't taking Michael on his word. So Michael decides that in order to prove to Oscar that he's okay with people being gay, he decides to kiss Oscar in what may be the most awkward and uncomfortable kiss ever put to the small screen. While Oscar may not have been expecting or wanting the kiss to happen, the man who played Oscar Martinez, Oscar Nunez, definitely wasn't ready for it. Steve Carell stated at the Paley Fest panel in 2012 that he made up the kiss on the spot, and you can see how uncomfortable both parties are in that particular situation. However, at the panel in question, the two actors recreated their kiss, only this time it was a full lip lock. These are some of the best improvised moments we found on television. What was your favorite moment that was off script? Which one was a total surprise to you? And which one were you very aware of already? Was there one you loved that we left out? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this in your playlist every day. Thanks for watching.